Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Kathy Waring, and I am a Digital Marketing Manager here at Citrix. I'm excited to be joined today by Akhilesh Dhawan, Director of Product Marketing for Networking and Security, and Praveen Raghuraman, Director of Product Management, responsible for networking and cloud services at Citrix. This talk examines the issue of controlling access to SaaS apps and the solution that can help improve user experience with single sign-on, offer enhanced security policies for SaaS apps, enable web filtering and secure browsing, and provide end-to-end visibility and user behavior analytics. Before we go into the presentation, let me quickly review a few housekeeping details. We will have a live Q&A session toward the end of today's event, and you're welcome to submit your questions during the presentation. Simply click the Ask a Question button. Also, we are recording this event, and the on-demand version will be available from the same link that you used to join today. So feel free to come back, watch the archive, or share it with your colleagues. Now I'll hand things over to Akhilesh and Praveen to get us started with the presentation.
Thank you, Kathy. Welcome everybody for our webinar. My name is Akhilesh Dhawan, and I'll get the webinar started. In the webinar today, we'll talk about what Citrix is offering in terms of its cloud service to not only provide single sign-on, but the value beyond single sign-on to SaaS and web applications. We'll also have a short demo that Praveen is going to present in the webinar later. So we'll start with a little bit of a background on why there is a need of a more comprehensive solution than just beyond what the single sign-on vendors are offering today. So if you look at our things that are happening in a data center, right? So we had traditional data centers where applications are sitting on premise. These are our on-premise web applications. In a lot of our cases, it's also our virtual applications and desktops as well. Users were accessing these applications, dialing it through a remote VPN solution, coming in from a corporate-owned device, and accessing their information. It was pretty straightforward. Corporate IT was just setting up these policies, security policies for these users be able to access these applications coming in from the corporate-owned devices, maybe at the worst working from home, and they were not very mobile. So what has changed, obviously, in the recent past, and we all know this, is a lot of these application workloads are moving into the cloud or are being delivered as SaaS. Most of you may be using some form of SaaS applications in your work environment today. Obviously, a lot of concerns are around the new generation of these applications where users are not only coming from home anymore or your corporate networks, they're traveling to different geographies, they are using their own devices, more personal devices to access a lot of these company confidential information that is sitting in these SaaS applications. And then even in our IT, what we have done is we have put in these point solutions to access some of these SaaS applications, and in addition to what we used to have with our VPN solutions to access the on-prem applications. And as a result, what has happened is users have to go to multiple places to access their data, coming in from different locations, coming from different devices. The security policies for accessing these applications are inconsistent, and as a result, there are a lot of security gaps in the ability to access this information. In addition to obviously security, then the user experience becomes very important, and that's what I think one of our core values at Citrix is: how do we improve the user experience who are trying to access these applications. One last thing I do want to also talk about is as a result of these multiple solutions or point solutions that we have for getting access to SaaS, web, virtual, or on-prem applications, is the inability for these solutions to integrate with each other and provide very limited insight as to what's going on in application traffic that is going to either SaaS. You may have a separate visibility tool for application traffic going to on-prem, and maybe a third visibility tool for your virtual apps and desktops. So now this is kind of a very high level diagram of what we are seeing in the industry. More specifically for SaaS, what's happening, obviously, these security concerns, which is having any inconsistent policies, limited insight, and all of that is very true for SaaS as well. So let's focus on SaaS and see where we are with that. Obviously, one of the things that we have seen is because of these SaaS applications coming in, a lot of our solutions are catered towards just for SaaS. These are in addition to point solutions that maybe we have deployed for virtual apps and desktops, some solutions that we have deployed for internet access, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of these point solutions that are deployed in the data centers that are making it the infrastructure very complex. Life is very harder for our IT, and then it also results in very poor user experience. The second part of the concern is users who are coming in from remote locations, and this is not only your home networks. This can be users who are traveling to different countries, users who are traveling to different geographies, which may have different compliance requirements, users who are also using their own devices, which may be jailbroken, which may be affected by malware, and which may compromise the user information by using those devices. The third part, obviously, is a lot of these SaaS applications, we are still hesitant on putting our very confidential information on SaaS because we are not sure how do I protect this. I don't have controls in order to protect information sitting in the SaaS environments. Obviously, single sign-on solutions do offer me a way to authenticate my users in terms of multi-factor authentication, provide a much better user experience for accessing SaaS, but they don't provide any controls on what users can do after they authenticate into these SaaS applications. And the final bit of it is how do I get visibility into these cloud and SaaS applications, and I get a risk assessment of these SaaS applications. So these are the primary concerns that we are looking at when we will talk about these solutions today. So what you need is obviously to come up with, to resolve these challenges, to answer some of the questions that we have in terms of our security and the experience challenges around SaaS and all the other apps that we have in our data centers or in cloud, is a more holistic approach for securing access to any application, be it SaaS or web or virtual and so on and so forth. Obviously, the holistic approach provides a single access point where it's much easier for end users to come in and access all their applications, and also for IT to not manage these different point solutions, and much easier to provide management for one access point wherein they can control and implement the security policies in one place. Obviously, so there is a contextual access control that the policies that we can implement on these one single access point is we have the ability now to authenticate the users based on the device they're using, based on the location they're coming from, based on the application they're trying to access, and all these different access policies can be provided or from a one single framework, if you will, as opposed to having to go to multiple places to implement these policies. And then, in addition to that, we do need some controls for specifically for SaaS applications, and also more specifically, if you have information that is very confidential, you want to protect within the SaaS applications. You want to provide controls to prevent unauthorized usage of that information that is living within the SaaS applications. And in the end, provide a complete end-to-end visibility and analytics on what users are doing and how they can kind of harm or how they can use unauthorized use of the data that is living in the SaaS applications. So as I was saying, right, a lot of our customers have deployed these proxy solutions for controlling access to on-prem applications like web applications and virtual applications, and have a separate solution just for SaaS and the public cloud applications, which is in terms of a more single sign-on solution that we have seen customers using specifically for these kind of applications. The third, and also something that is very upcoming, we've seen is in addition to users accessing the data for the authorized applications, which are SaaS applications or on-prem applications. Obviously, our users are accessing the internet. A lot of our users are also accessing unsanctioned SaaS applications. These are the applications that IT is not involved with, and a lot of our users have gone and spun up their own SaaS instances, to get some work done. So, how do I control these, access to these applications and the internet? Now, we do have web filtering solutions that we have deployed as a third use case around access. And the intention, obviously, is to provide this holistic approach for these services. And as a result, Citrix Access Control is something that we announced early part of August in 2018, is a combination of all the different use cases that we just spoke about. With Citrix Access Control, not only do we provide your proxy to your on-prem applications, which is which can be your Zen apps and desktop or any web applications that you may have on-premise, but it also provides you a complete single sign-on solution to SaaS and cloud applications. In addition to that, obviously we have a complete web filtering solution, which provides you controls of what users can or cannot access on the internet. And the differentiator for us, you will ask, is how are you different from other single sign-on vendors or the web filtering vendors? One part of it is obviously the consolidation of all these different use cases, and the other part is a cloud app control, wherein we're going to talk more about these policies when Praveen presents. But these are certain set of policies where we are providing some security controls to an admin to control what users can do after they authenticate into the SaaS applications. So by doing that, by consolidating all these different use cases, what we are offering is a much better end user experience. So with usage of the Workspace app, not only can you now access your virtual apps and desktops, but you can also access your SaaS, your web applications as well, and get a more single sign-on experience across all these different applications from one single platform. And obviously, you can use any device with Workspace app. The application is available for usage in all the different platforms that you may be using today. In addition to that, we have a much tighter and improved security policies for SaaS and the internet. In addition to single sign-on, we are offering the cloud app control, which is the enhanced security policies for SaaS, and this makes us the only vendor who can provide these kind of set of policies for SaaS applications. So if you look at any other single sign-on vendor or any other web filtering vendor, you will not find any such policies that they can provide for SaaS applications. In addition to that, another differentiator that we have with us is the isolated browser that we have within the service. So if you have, if you do want to allow your users access to the internet, there are still some websites that are gray, if you will, not a blacklist or a whitelisted URL, but certain sites like gray where there may be a chance that there is a malware hidden within those websites. And you can redirect those internet sessions to a secure browser service that is streamed directly from the Citrix Cloud. So you don't need to deploy it on your laptops or desktops or mobile devices. This service is streamed directly from the Citrix Cloud. That also means that it doesn't touch your network at all. And it's a much better security in terms of accessing the internet. And in the end, we have a complete visibility and analytics solution wherein we are offering not only the reports from the performance and the product itself, but also a much better user behavior analytics wherein we do assign risk categories for users who are trying to access a certain set of websites and so on and so forth. So based on the user actions and the history of the user actions, we will provide risk scores, and depending on the risk scores, admin can block access for those particular set of users. So with that, I'll give it to Praveen to take us through the more details.
Thanks, Akhilesh. Hello, everyone. This is Praveen, Raghuraman, Director of Products. I'm responsible for the cloud and networking services here. And I'm going to walk through the key core capabilities of what we are providing as access control. And also then we'll actually come into a small demo and kind of show how all this works together and comes together as a solution. So if you think of the overall admin experience, really what we're really looking at is a very simple solution onboarding step that has three components to it. One is that from the standpoint of being able to set up the overall authentication that is required for end users to be able to access their different applications through the workspace. The second key piece is really actually bringing the core set of sanctioned SaaS applications that we talked about into the workspace, and you can very easily do that by using some of the templates that we'll talk about, and then really set up the policies for governing what kind of access is allowed and what end users can or cannot do within that. So if you look at one of the things that we've really done is created a rich library of predefined SAML templates for single sign-on to SaaS applications. So pretty much we have all the core set of applications that are being deployed right now from a SaaS standpoint. And the nice thing is that obviously admins can create and add their own single sign-on settings very easily. So that makes the whole job of setting up single sign-on much more easier. But the next thing that we kind of start doing on top of that is really to govern what you can as an admin do to enhance the overall security posture of how end users may be accessing their SaaS applications. So here, what I'm showing you is a screenshot which actually has the different kind of options that are available. So typically, if you have a SaaS application that is sanctioned, you might actually want to contain what kind of actions users can or cannot do. For example, you might want to present a watermark so that if there is any leak of the data in terms of somebody taking a screenshot, whatever it is, then that particular information actually there's a trail behind it. Other things like preventing the ability to do copy paste or even restricting the content that actually gets downloaded can very easily be governed through this particular framework that we have put in for SaaS applications. And this is right in the flow of next step where now you can actually start applying detailed web filtering policies. So what we do is we have capabilities where you can set up these web filtering policies on a category basis, or these can also be set up as individual websites. So both options are allowed. And what's also nice is, as Akhilesh mentioned, we have this whole notion of looking at sites that are not quite something that an admin wants to block, but they want still the ability to actually make sure that any malware or any endpoints are not infected. And that's where really the integration with the isolated browser, with the secure browser service comes into play. So all of these capabilities are built right in to a very single and seamless experience from an admin perspective. Now let's actually look at what the end user experience is going to look like. So earlier, a few weeks ago, we actually announced the availability of the Workspace app and the new Workspace experience. And what this does is it provides one unified experience to access all kinds of applications, which includes your traditional virtual apps and desktops, but now the SaaS applications as well as the corporate hosted web applications as well as any published browsers in one single pane of glass, right? And it really makes it easy from the standpoint of end users trying to access their content on mobile devices or at work in a office location, or maybe if they are working remotely. So really, this is actually a very seamless experience that we can now provide for all kinds of applications. And particularly in the context of SaaS applications, what we can now do is apply these conditional policies that we talked about, and we kind of show you what the different experience is based on what the admins actually govern. So let's actually take an example of an end user experience with the Workspace app, and I'm actually showing you here an example of when the admin has actually disabled enhanced security policies. At that point in time, any application that is open will directly be opened in a standard browser. This is the end user's native browser on the machine that they're using, and really that makes it easy for their single sign-on into that experience. But let's say that we now want to govern access to some of the sanctioned applications, and this is where we really start automatically showing that content in an embedded browser. And based on the type of policies, whether it's the content is allowed or denied, that experience is shown, and you can directly access those different kinds of websites. Now, if any content is restricted, we actually provide a web page that is served up to the end user, informing that the content that they're trying to access is against corporate policy. And if there is content that actually needs to be accessed in the context of an isolated browser, that session is automatically launched and the complete experience is fully seamless. So now that we can see that all of this is happening completely in a seamless manner as far as the end user is concerned, and based on what exactly the admin wants as to be governed from a security policy perspective. But the good thing is that end users can actually have all this experience even through the web portal. So in the web portal, very similar experience. If an application does not have enhanced security enabled, then the end user gets to see that content within their standard browser. And for published content that has the enhanced security policies turned on, what we do is we actually launch what is called as a secure browser session. And within the secure browser session, automatically we can allow or deny traffic as the case may be, and as well as redirect traffic that is now fully contained within that secure browser session. So as you can see, in this case, the end user experience was seamless, similar to what we had shown to you in the desktop experience. So what we actually explained to you earlier in the presentation was that we can actually provide the analytics behind what is happening in terms of the different kinds of access. And for that, we have done an integration with Citrix Analytics, which has machine learning embedded so that we can automatically surface different kinds of risky access that is happening on the network. And not only is the information provided based on what the users are doing, but this can be very granular in terms of the different kinds of domains that are accessed, and we can classify this on the top using very simple color-coded widgets, which provide a clear risk profile of all the content that's accessed. And admins can actually also get a drill down into the specific types of websites that are happening over time. Let's go to the next screen. As I said, we are using machine learning to automatically detect different kinds of anomalies. And here is an example of a specific risk indicator that actually we have detected for anomalous SaaS app usage. So what this now allows the admin to do is to be able to have those anomalies surface without having to actually go and dig up every single piece of access that may constitute some form of risk or governance issues on that network. And additionally, based on the different kinds of admin policies that have been set up, risk indicators can actually be triggered to indicate if there was any blacklisted access that happened or specific types of risky websites that were accessed. By the way, all of this is automatically detected and surfaced so that the admin knows exactly what's going on, and they can go and change their policies or show compliance to how their networks actually govern. Okay, so now let's actually go in and take a look at an overall demo. So this is, I'm logged into Citrix Cloud now, and I want to show you how the overall admin experience looks like, and then we actually will go into the end user experience. So when you log into Citrix Cloud, as I said, this is the onboarding page. As you can see, all these steps that are required from the standpoint of, very quickly configuring the solution are presented. Obviously, it shows you whether the step is completed or not. I've actually gone ahead and configured all these settings. I can set up the authentication options. I'm going to take you to the library, which is essentially where the admins get to see all the different applications that have been published. Right? In this library, I have actually G Suite, I have Salesforce, Office 365, and also my virtual apps and virtual desktops all published under one single pane of glass. Let me show you that for G Suite, what specific policies I've actually set up. So I have in my company, for example, end users who are using G Suite, and for G Suite, for this particular SaaS app, all the different kinds of domains as well as the single sign-on settings are predefined. Now, what is nice is this enhanced security policy that we were talking about. And I have configured a display watermark as well as download and copy paste restrictions, all so that I can exactly be sure about what kind of content is getting access. So that's a pretty straightforward step. Once the single sign-on template is selected, you actually complete the step, and now you can actually go and publish this application to your end users. So let's go back to the library and also look at one other application, which is Salesforce. And we've actually done the same thing, very similar to what we talked about for G Suite. In this example, I have 7 subscribers, users who will be able to use Salesforce. And here's what I wanted to show you is this SAML template is predefined with all the settings and just needs to be customized with the specific entries that are required. Click Save. Again, similar settings for enhanced security that actually tells me exactly what end users can or cannot do. Once I've done that, I've selected SAML, I click Save, and pretty much I'm now ready to go ahead and set up my next policy. Now, one of the other things we are also going to try to do is to actually set up our web filtering policies. So let's go back to the access control homepage, and let's look at how actually easily I can set up different kinds of web filtering policies. So one of the things I've done here is blocked access to this particular site, which is deemed as risky. We also have a whole set of websites that we've actually set up for access through secure browser. So for instance, in this case, I have actually added Facebook, Instagram, and a few other sites that I do want my end users to be able to go and access, but I just don't want them to be accessing them directly. All this content will be open in a secure browser environment. And also, the other thing I can do is look at the different kinds of websites that are pre-configured. So we have 4 presets. We have a strict preset which actually governs the specific risk posture, and strict preset, what it does is allows me to exclude all kinds of social media, peer-to-peer, and a whole variety of other sites which may be considered risky or non-compliant. And obviously you can go ahead and change that to a specific customized template and even select the specific categories I want. So in this case, I'm actually going to go ahead, not change this, and now let's look at how the overall experience works in the context of Workspace app.
Okay, so now let's look at the Workspace app demo and kind of look at how we can govern end user access based on the different kinds of policies that I talked about a little while ago. So I'm logged into the Workspace app right now, and here I can actually on my homepage see all my recents and my favorites. I can see all my different kinds of applications that have been published by the admin here. So you have pretty much the same applications we talked about. We have G Suite, Salesforce, Secure, Skype for Business, and so on and so forth. Let's actually look at the behavior for G Suite. So if you remember, what we had done with G Suite was we had set up enhanced security policies, and we had enabled different kinds of restrictions, such as showing a watermark, as well as being able to prevent cut, copy, paste, and other things. So you can see now that actually I do have a watermark that is going to follow this particular screen, and automatically the screen opened up. Let's go and check out Gmail, and let's see what the behavior is for different kind of content that's accessed. All right, so I've got a bunch of email here. Let me actually go and check this link on the top. This says, this is hilarious. Let's see what that is, Facebook. Okay, so now we have Facebook access that actually we did allow, but what we had said was we want this Facebook access to be only allowed in an isolated browser, which is the secure browser. So you can see that an automatic secure browser session is getting created, and that window actually shows us that all of this content now is actually going to be opened up within the secure browser session. Any further access that I do from this particular session within Facebook will stay within this secure browser session only, right? So really makes it much easier now, and my particular desktop is not going to get infected with any of this content. Let's go back to our Gmail. I think there were some other emails that we wanted to check out. So I did get another email for, okay, check this out again. Oh, there is a link there. And when I click on that link, this particular link was, maybe it has malware and we had blocked it. So automatically a page is served which shows me that access to this particular content is restricted. So based on the type of specific URL or the website or the category that it belongs to that has been set up in the policy, different kinds of allow, deny, or isolated browser sessions are automatically launched. Now let's actually go back and let's look at the experience for Salesforce. We had actually set up also for Salesforce similar enhanced security policies, and there are also restrictions from a content perspective. So as soon as I log into Salesforce, now what I can see is that I do have that watermark that we had talked about show up. My IP address is logged. Any other links that are clicked within Salesforce will also open up within the embedded browser, and all of this access is actually now happening within that embedded browser. So let me try to basically, if you try to do any kind of copy paste or any other things, that is all prevented. I actually cannot do that. So what we are seeing here is based on the different kinds of policies that have been applied, automatically the appropriate app gets opened, and also I'm single signed on in that app. But then whether if that content is allowed, you directly go to that content, or if it is allowed only under a secure browser session, then a browser session opens up within which all of this content securely is now allowed and accessed by the end user.
So yeah, thank you, Praveen. I think that was a great demo. So the takeaways obviously that we have from the demo that you guys saw is, Citrix has a solution which is completely differentiated from what other single sign-on or web filtering vendors are doing today. Basically allowing not only single sign-on, but also providing enhanced security policies, web filtering, and an isolated browser within the same service. So I think that's a great value add. And then to top that off, we also have analytics providing you a complete end-to-end visibility and data into what users are doing into these SaaS applications. So the question obviously you might be, how do I get started? You can actually go to our Citrix Cloud page and request for a free trial on access control. So once you create an account, or if you have already an account on Citrix Cloud portal, you can request for a free 60-day free trial for Citrix Access Control. You can also look at our blogs. We have posted a couple of blogs on Citrix Access Control, and you can also read about the service going to citrix.com/cloud. So that's all from us for now. We will open for any Q&A.
Great. All right, now before we move into the Q&A, I would like to remind our audience that if you have a question for our speakers, you can click the Ask a Question button. And it looks like our first question is, do I need Workspace App to use access control?
So Yes and no. I mean, the demo that Praveen showed earlier is, yes, absolutely. I think it'll be, if you're already using Workspace app, you can continue using that application to also see SaaS and web applications from the same plugin, if you will. If you don't have Workspace app, you can still use Citrix Access Control. You can directly log into our portal, and based on the policies, you will be you will see either a secure browser service opening up your sessions, or if you're only single sign-on, then it can open in any standard browser that you have deployed on your laptops or desktops.
Great. Can you explain when they will need Workspace app versus just a standard browser?
Yeah, great question. Actually, we always, actually advise our users to use the Workspace app. It actually makes a lot more seamless experience in terms of, having this more available in a native experience itself. The standard browser can be used if you just want to do single sign-on to different applications. What the Workspace app does is, using that allows you to actually have all your applications accessed, but then things like, for example, secure browser are automatically launched. So there are advantages in being able to use the native experience. And remember that you actually don't have to be tied to any specific browser. We include an embedded browser within the Workspace app itself. So from an admin perspective, all of this is just contained within one single installer or package.
Great, thank you. Can I configure any SaaS app for SSO?
Yes, so any SaaS app that supports SAML 2.0 can be configured with Citrix Access Control. We have provided some templates for what we know are some of the top used SaaS applications, and we will continue to kind of keep working on that. If you don't see your a SaaS application that is in the template list, you can go ahead and still configure those applications so long they can support SAML 2.0.
Okay. Is this subscription pricing, and can I purchase long-term?
Yes, so this is a subscription per user pricing. It is very standard with any of the cloud services that Citrix or other vendors provide today. We do offer subscription in multi-year terms as well. So if you want to know more about our packaging and pricing, do go visit our website at citrix.com/cloud. We do have a subscription page there, and we have all the information regarding pricing for this particular service.
Great, and I think that brings us to the end of today's session. A quick reminder, you can check out and register for upcoming Citrix webinars and events by going to citrix.com/events. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great day.